Hi there, this is Carl Irwin, and this is going to be a very quick look at getting work scoring to picture. Now, when I say getting work, it's got a nuanced meaning to it. Some of you hear me say that, and you might be thinking about, well, getting a job, working on a feature film or something like that. But the reason why I bring this up is because Guy Mitchell-Moore has got a great YouTube channel where he helps a lot of people as hobbyist composers, people looking to get into the field of media composing, game composing, film and television, and teaching them very rudimentary concepts that are essential learning. He also has a company, ThinkSpace Education, that has some paid learning as well, and some master classes that you can participate in to learn the skill set. Recently, he put up a video on his channel. It says Composer Chat, How to Grow Your Career. And I've paused right here because he starts with this idea that people working in film will generally start in this area. You get that one horror film, that first job that's a really low budget, usually a horror film. And you write music for that, and then your networking begins. You then create connections, and then he branches this concept out through the rest of the talk. And the question that came up in the comments section after he put that up was, well, Guy, I understand all that, but I don't understand, how do you get that first film? How do you do that? How do you get the first job or the first opportunity? Let's call it an opportunity rather than a job, because you probably won't be paid for this. He did respond. He said, well, we'll look at that. Now, he hasn't looked at it yet, hasn't done that, but I'm going to give you my take on this in my experience, very limited experience on the subject. So let me preface this by saying that I am not a media composer in a professional sense. I don't do that for a living. I make my living in education, music education. I am a composer. I do compose for projects. I compose for live ensembles, and I compose for some media projects, but these are as they come. And I'm not really much of a freelancer either. It's not like I get paid for much of what I do. My job is education. I am a career teacher, a public school teacher in New York State. That's where my living is. That's where my pension is. Some people ask me, well, what do you teach? And my answer to that isn't what you would think. I wouldn't say I teach music. Actually, my answer is always the same. I teach young people. That's what I teach. I teach young people. And occasionally I get the opportunity to teach them music in a quality way. So that's my real job, right? I am a musician. I went to school for music, but I'm a music educator, and first and foremost, I am an educator. So that's my perspective. I want you to understand that going into this. Now, I do a bit of work writing to film, and that's what I want to talk about, is how do you get there? How do you get this part where you have some projects where you're composing? Some people might say that you go to various websites that will list jobs that are open, and then you can, just apply. I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do or the best thing to do. That might be something you do maybe as a next tier. I think primarily, however, the first thing you need to do is get some experience writing to film, composing to film, and that's what we're going to talk about. Now, there's an avenue that you should take that I think that is often overlooked, but there is an enormous vacuum. Guy goes on in this video to talk about opportunities writing in for television or for film, and that the opportunities are highly competitive. Well, there's actually an avenue that you can take that is not at all competitive. It's not at all competitive. You can almost guarantee that you will get work so long as you have a good portfolio and that you have a good convincing pitch, and people can know that they don't have to worry about you, that you're going to get the work done. Okay, this avenue has to do with film school. So a quick Google search will give you various articles that give you the top film schools in the country, and you can look through these lists, and they'll list all these great institutions where there are people creating films, students creating student projects. There's some very well-known places, and then as you get further down the list, some places you wouldn't necessarily think about, but they are locations where some very good filmmakers have come from. And the programs are very comprehensive and very good. And they are always looking for people to compose for these projects, for these student projects. Now, students are taught in these institutions to network and find composers, and they're taught to look at other collegiate institutions. Some of these places might even have partnerships with other areas, maybe even other departments within their own school that deal with music. But I can tell you from experience that you will often find that students still do not have composers to work on their projects. Many of these projects are short. They might just be shorts that are 3 or 4 minutes long. Maximum maybe 15-minute shorts. Not usually feature-length films, but certainly guided films where there is some oversight. They have instructors and professors that are looking over their shoulder and instructing them in the way to make a good film, to do it properly and do it appropriately. And it's an opportunity to write a good picture. And you can apply by just sending in your information to the department chair of these film schools, explain who you are, what you can do, and make your services available. The nice thing about this is that being the age that we're in, you can do this long distance. You don't need to be nearby. You can actually speak to student filmmakers via Zoom. Some of these places have graduate schools as well, and you'll get some older students that are doing more complex projects. But you can communicate remotely, do all of your work remotely, and share all of your files remotely with these types of film schools. Now, I would also say that this list can be even larger if you include animation schools. There are many schools that work in film, or rather video creation, media creation, but they are animation schools. And a quick look of animation schools in the U.S. gets you a huge list. And some of these schools obviously would be on this other list of the top 25 American film schools, but there's a lot more animation programs out there than there are film programs. And you can see here, and I've worked with students from film schools just looking on this list, and I look at the ones that are nearby where I live, and I send my information out, and you'd be surprised how quickly you get a response from students that need a composer to compose for their film. So this is really the way I think that you very quickly get to this part of the network. You start with student films or these no-budget kinds of enterprises that are part of film schools, and you can get work very quickly, and it's good work. It's very effective networking there. And one concept I want you to think about is that your networking probably should think more about the future filmmakers rather than the current ones. It's going to be very hard for you to get in with current filmmakers and current institutions and current production companies that already have a good network of composers and media creators, audio creators and music media creators. You're going to want to look for the filmmakers of tomorrow, the kids that are getting started, the people that are going out doing their own independent projects. That's where you want to start your networking. I think that's probably a really, really good strategy, particularly in this expanding universe of media creation. You could get in with some of these people, some of these young people, and find that they pioneer new ventures in media that aren't necessarily film per se, but they're other kinds of maybe streaming media that will be streamed in platforms that haven't even been created yet. So that is my recommendation. Now, how do you go about doing this? Well, here's my recommendation. This is how I do it. So the pitch. The first thing is you need to write an email. You need to create some kind of a communication that you're going to send to a department chair at one of these institutions. And I think you should keep it concise. You should keep it very clear and concise. Don't say too much. Don't appear desperate. But you should say who you are and what is your experience. So in my case, I'm a school teacher nearby an institution maybe that I'm sending this to. And I have 20 years of experience composing music for media. I have composed for student projects before. And that is my experience, right? You want to list your skill sets. You want to say that, for example, in my case, I am a composer of various genres. There's really no limitation to what I'm willing to try to do and what I have done. I've done electronic music. I've done orchestral music. I've done small ensemble and chamber music, and everything in between, and hybrid music as well. I can compose quickly. I give prompt responses. I'm very punctual. This is a truth. I can do things very, very fast. I can turn around music within a day. In terms of the amount of music, if it's within about a minute, certainly I can turn around a sketch very, very fast, and I give prompt responses. I have the tools to create mock-ups. I have the necessary tools in my disposal to create high-quality music that can be used for production. And I can compose to picture. That is a skill set that I have, where if someone gives me a film and they give me a working print of the film, I can compose music that will match up and line up to and synchronize to the picture. I have the tool set to do that and the skills to do that. And the last thing is, don't lie about anything. Make sure you're telling the absolute truth about everything. If for you, you're not a composer of various genres, make sure that you say, I am a composer of orchestral music. I am a composer of electronic music. I am a composer of various pop styles of music. Make sure that you tell the truth. Tell what your focus is. Don't ever explain your skill set as a limitation. Explain it as a focus. This is what I compose. This is my focus. This is it. And in doing so, it will demonstrate that there is a narrower set of skills, but it will be honest, and people that are looking for that kind of skill set will seek you out. Provide samples. So in my correspondence, I include 2 to 3 links of diverse examples. Usually I'll put in something that is orchestral and it's obviously orchestral. I'll put in something that is electronic, that is obviously electronic. And then I will include something that might be sort of hybrid. It includes examples of both. It doesn't have to be film music. It doesn't have to have a reel associated with it. You're already making your claim that you can compose to picture. Don't worry about giving reels. They need to just hear that you can compose. You can write good music that has expression to it and is of a quality that can be listened to. That is production ready. And then after a couple of links to some samples, I also provide links to artists' pages so that they can dig deeper if they want to. So these links are the low-hanging fruit. Very quickly, here's a few samples of my work that show my capability. And then here are my artist pages, Spotify, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Audio.com, Pandora, wherever you're streaming your music at. Provide links, and as many as you have, to those locations so that the students will have a wide variety of locations to seek out your work and dig deeper. This has really helped because I can say that I've had students come back to me that they didn't necessarily refer to these links, but they said, on your artist page, I noticed that you composed this piece down here on this album. And they say, I really like that. This sounds a lot like what I want for my picture. So you want to give them, I think, the whole kitchen sink, at least make it available. Everything in the kitchen sink, I should say. Make it available for them to peruse. But don't overload people in the initial correspondence. Just give a couple of samples of work. Don't worry about reels. Just show that you can write music. Okay. So your cover letter, interest letter, email should include these elements. Okay. Now, the work. You get a response and you get to work and you start writing music. This is my recommendation. This is what has worked for me, and a lot of it is no-brainer. But some of these things I think you should be aware of if you haven't done this yet and you're just getting into it, particularly with student filmmakers. 1, work for free and take direction. Obviously, they're not going to have money to pay you. Some students will have a budget. For me, I have never taken a cent from a kid. I've never taken a cent from a student. Even when they have a budget and they can pay me $100 or something for it, I always decline. I just don't need it. I have a living. I have a good living. I have a pension coming to me. In my case, I just don't need it. And I'm looking at this more so therapeutically for myself, just to keep busy writing music, and to help some kids out. I have a skill set that they don't have to worry about. I can write exactly what they want and I can deliver. I don't need them worrying about me, and I just do it for fun. So I work for free, but be willing to work for free. Be willing to work for free. And the second part here is the most important one. Take direction. They're the director, you're not. They're going to tell you what you want. You say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and you deliver to the best of your ability what it is they're asking for. This is not a long-standing relationship that you have with these young folks. They're looking to satisfy their vision. If you have a long-standing relationship with a director and you've been doing work with someone for a long time, then you have an opportunity and you have a platform on which you can offer a lot more innovation. We'll talk about that in a moment. And you can push back a little bit, I think, and say, well, I think that you should really think about this. You need to take direction. The question that you have for them is, what do you need? They say what they need and you deliver. I think that's very, very important, particularly when you're just getting these first jobs and just creating some networking. You don't want to be known as the person that has opinions. Now, I have opinions and I share them on this channel. I even get flamed for having opinions. I've posted my opinions on VI Control and some other places. Those opinions were not taken very well by a number of people. And I'm not going back there. I'm done. I'm done with that. People often will offer their opinions and say it's constructive criticism, and it's not, right? It's clearly not. They're just being dismissive, right? Don't give your opinions in these working relationships. Give your opinions on your own platform in your own time, such as a YouTube channel, right? Or a review channel, something like that. Speak the language of music and film. This seems counterintuitive to someone who gives their opinion, right, in review. But speak the language of music and film. Be willing to use what you might consider to be tired vocabulary. Now, I would say that tired vocabulary is, to its credit, is time-tested vocabulary. Whenever you're using old school vocabulary applied to picture, things that have been done in other movies before, and sometimes hopefully your filmmaker will say, I'm thinking of music like what I see in this movie, or in this playlist, or in this soundtrack. Be willing to use time-tested vocabulary. That's actually to your advantage. It's more likely, if you're using time-tested vocabulary, tropes, things that we call tropes, but actually vocabulary that often means a very specific thing. If you're doing that, you will be more likely to satisfy the wishes of that you're working with. Okay? Don't be quick to innovate or argue a new direction. Again, take direction, don't give it. Don't say, wow, I like this picture. This picture has me thinking about this really new, crazy idea I've had. Don't even bother. Don't do that. They don't have time for that. They're students. They're on a time frame. They've got a lot of things on their plate. They certainly have a limit. They're not working with a studio. The semester ends when it ends, right? Do what they ask. Don't innovate. Don't argue new direction. Now, there is a little bit of leeway here. Like I've had students where they will make a remark about something that is a time-tested, or what I would consider to be a tired trope in music. And they'll say, well, I don't like that scene. The one thing I often hear is, my picture isn't a fantasy. I don't want it to sound like fantasy. And they often will think about orchestral score as being fantasy. And I sometimes have to explain, well, no, this isn't really a fantasy. What's happening here is that this instrument often is used in vocabulary and film as being related to this. And then be willing to mock up something quickly, very quickly, to say, and it works like this, so that they can see it. And if they still disagree after your explanation, let it go. Let it go. There's no hill to die on here, right? You're the one looking for work. So take direction, offer your suggestions, but make sure that your suggestions are very grounded, that they're not like out of the box and innovative. Okay, don't do that. Now's not the time for that. Provide sample concepts, 30-second concepts, 30-second mock-ups, 30-second little clips based on their description or their summary of their script, even without a full script. Provide them early, like next day. So-and-so says, hey, I'm looking for some music. This is my summary of my project. You read that. When you reply, by the time you reply to their email and their response to your pitch, throw them a 30-second clip. Say, hey, I read through this and I was thinking of something kind of like this. Say, there's this moment in your summary or in the plot, and this moment actually got me thinking about music that's like this. Just a quick 30-second mock-up, a high-quality mock-up, but very, very short. Send that back early. Not because you need them to accept you. They're already looking for work. But you want to immediately settle their mind about you. You want them to know, oh my goodness, of all the things that I have to worry about, this person isn't going to be someone that I worry about. They get me. They're seeking my interest. They understand what I'm after. They're on the same page as me. And likewise, early on, if you send them a 30-second concept early on, and it's not quite what they want, it gives them an opportunity to say, I was actually thinking of something more like this. And then you can next day, following day, immediately send them something back, another 30-second clip. Very early, based on just summary, on scripts, before anything's been shot, before any animatics have been given. Early. Make sure that you're giving material early. This is good for you. Not only are you creating vocabulary that you can pull on later on when you actually start to sync to picture and create cues, but it also helps to settle the vibe of the piece that you're working on. Take only what you can handle. When you send this out, you may find that you get a lot of response. Don't take on a whole bunch of projects, right? And don't be picky. You know, if you get someone first day that offers you the opportunity, don't leave them standing. Take that one. Take that one. You might get some offers later that are better than that are more like what you want to work on. It's okay. Take the first one. Don't worry about the other ones. If you think you can take on a couple of shorts, or you know you have one short in the first semester and then you have another short that for second semester, you know you can do both. Take that on, but don't do more than what you can handle. You don't need to put them in a bad spot. You don't need to put you in a bad spot. My guess is that if you're doing this for free, you're doing other things for an income, and you're not going to have an enormous amount of time to spend on this. Maybe if you're a music student, you'll be able to use these projects as some of your schoolwork in your own composition studio or your own music studio, but only take what you can handle. Do not overextend yourself. It's a bad idea. Okay. Lastly, be kind and enthusiastic. Be very enthusiastic as you're communicating. Be very kind and be very personable. Do not show all of your quirkiness. Don't show your personality. If you've got a lot of eccentric personality, you check it at the door. Check it at the door. Be kind. Be enthusiastic. Be vanilla. Be normal. You really, 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 really want this person to not have to worry about you. They have enough to worry about. You want to be the one. If you want to have work and you want to have a good street credit with other students in the program, and also have good street credits with these young people as they leave their institutions and go out into the real world and do work, you want to have a network, a name recognition with these folks that you work with, that they can pass on and say, look, this is the most normal person I've ever met. This person is someone you don't have to worry about. They're going to get the job done. They're very eclectic, very diverse. They have a lot of skill set. They take direction. You want them to say all the best things about you. So be kind, be enthusiastic. Those are my recommendations, and that is how you get that first work, right? That first, and actually when you're working in student films, it won't necessarily be horror films. It'll be a lot of comedies, a lot of other kinds of diverse types of opportunities. So you don't have to look for that low budget picture to just start scoring to picture and getting a portfolio put together. That's what I recommend. That's what has worked for me in my limited access to the industry, and that's what I recommend to you. So good luck with that. Happy composing, happy mixing.